Hello, my fellow gnomes, and welcome to The Game. So today I want to talk about some common game development mistakes. This is mainly based on some of the experience I had while playing all of your GnomeJam submissions. So if you took part in that, definitely give this a watch. But even if you didn't, this is going to be just general game development ideas and thoughts. So definitely worth a watch. So starting off with, I've got this basic menu set up, right? Pretty cool. A lot of games do this. Have a little 3D scene, have some buttons, right? All looking pretty good so far. Now, this was particularly noticeable in the GnomeJam, I think partly because people maybe ran out of time and didn't manage to finish things. But a lot of people had buttons like this, info and credits, and if you click them, oh, nothing happens, right? They're just kind of there as vanity buttons. Don't have buttons that don't do anything. This is just not a good idea. Even worse, you'll often see settings menus, right? Or something like this. So you click on the little settings cog. This one actually opens, but oh, it just has a coming soon page. And this I see in loads of games, even big, quite popular games. I think it's a pretty bad idea, this. Never have a window that opens up with no content in it. Because all that's going to do, the first time people play your game, they're going to see the button, maybe, and then they'll maybe click it, and they'll say, oh yeah, there's nothing here. And they're probably not going to keep coming back and checking all the time. So I would say when you actually add the content, then add the button, and they're going to say, oh yeah, there's a new button here. I wonder what this button does. And then they'll see the information. Don't have it coming soon. That's generally not a good idea. So click play and we can enter the game. Now, what I would say, if you want to still be working on your GUI, and so, you don't necessarily have to delete everything. So this info, credits, and the settings cog, if I want to keep working on the GUI, but I don't want it in the game, all I need to do is untick the visible option. They're still there, I can work on it later, but now when someone plays, well, they're not going to see all that clutter anymore. All they're going to get is just the play option, which is probably what you want. So let's have a look around this game then. There's not really much to see here, but what I have done is I've gone and created a teleport, which takes us to another place using TeleportService. I can't test it out using Studio. It doesn't work. Look, you see, cannot teleport in Roblox Studio. We need to use the Roblox game client for that. So I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to load up my game from there. Okay, we're back inside the actual game now. And now we can use our teleport service, and I'll show you what the problem is with using teleport service everywhere. This is just a simple touch script, so as soon as we touch it, we're going to get teleported, right? So let's head. We'll walk straight through it, and oh, we're still walking, what's happening, and oh, now I've been teleported. You see that delay? That's not really ideal. You don't want to have a massive delay like that, because you walk through and you think, oh, it's not teleport, nothing works. And just as you're getting confused, sure, it does eventually work and teleports you in, but you don't want to leave the player guessing like that. It can be quite confusing, quite jarring gameplay-wise. Ideally, you want to give them a bit of a clue. Not to mention, it's a bit unpleasant seeing the Roblox loading screen in between. It kind of takes you out of the game. So we're going to have a look at this second world in a minute. But first of all, let's head back into Studio and I'll see how we can improve this. So I'm inside Studio for the alien planet now. And we've got the teleport here. And we can just have a look inside. We can see, yeah, as you'd expect, touch script. Yeah, uses teleport service. Teleport the player to that ID and so on. But I've also got this little GUI I've just created called Teleport GUI. And there's nothing really in here. All it is just a frame with some text, right? There's nothing very exciting. You can make this a lot more interesting if you wanted. But this GUI I want to enable whenever they touch it. So what I've done is I've gone and created a remote event called teleport event, and I've placed it in replicated storage now. And all I need to do is inside my teleport script, I'm going to fire that remote event. So you see I've got a variable for the remote event here, and then I'm going to fire it towards that player. And then inside of my local script, I can look for the teleport event, and whenever it's fired towards the client, I can then enable the GUI. And another thing, a good idea to do is make sure you're using teleport service, and you can use this set teleport GUI function, which then ensures that it's actually set and you don't get that Roblox loading screen in between. So let me republish these changes now. So I'm back inside the game now. I haven't set it for this teleport, I've set it for the other one in the other place. So let's just look at the contrast one more time. Walking all the way through, waiting, and then, oh yeah, finally it teleports us. Now at the second place, now let's see what happens this time. As soon as we touch it, bam, traveling to somewhere. And sure, you have to wait a bit, but then you're going to load back in to the game. So that's a much smoother transition than having all this waiting around. You want it to happen as soon as you touch it. So that's definitely something you can do to improve it. Now, another thing to bear in mind is, do you really need to use TeleportService at all? So in this case, I've just got a sort of basic adventure game. And unless your worlds are really big, you've got loads of buildings and detailed builds that are going to slow down the game, generally you really don't need to use TeleportService. There's only really two reasons. Either that for the building aspect and the lag, or maybe you're doing some kind of multiplayer thing where you want to be able to matchmake and then send just a few players off into a smaller server. But if you've got something like this, then you really don't need to use TeleportService. It's just a waste of time really, and it takes the player out of the game when they could be doing something and playing the game. So what's the alternative? Well, let's head back into Studio again. One alternative is simply teleporting the player's character within the same place. So you might have noticed I've got this cube down here. Well, all I can do is I've already got this script in. Let me delete that. Now, the teleport script, let's just copy it. I'm going to paste it into this part. And what I want to do is when the player touches this part, instead of teleporting them to an entirely new place, I just want to move the character's position up here onto this spaceship. Okay, so I've got this spaceship area, and you'll see I've already got a part over here called the ship entrance part. So all we need to do is inside of this part, and instead of server teleport, we'll just call it move character script or something like that. We don't need any of the teleport service anymore. And this time we're going to create two variables. We're going to have part A, which will equal the current part, script.parent, and a part B, which is where we want to go, because we're going to go from A to B, obviously. So we want to go to workspace dot ship entrance, okay? And all we want to happen, remember, is when they touch this part, we want the character to move to that part up there. And how we move the character is by changing their primary part's C-frame, or the humanoid root part. So once we've checked that they're a player, all we need to do is player.character.primary part, which will be the humanoid root part, most likely anyway, .C-frame, and we'll set that equal to part B dot C-frame. And now make sure we correct that error down here. There we go. So we're hooking in part A, the touched event, and we're connecting it to this function. And obviously you want them to be able to get back as well. So you see there's a wall here I've added in, this black wall. That's called ship exit. We can make that move them back as well. So I can copy this move character script to the ship exit part. And this time we just change the value of part B. I'll move them to planet entrance instead. So now instead of having to do any long teleporting, we can just touch this part, head straight onto the ship. Awesome. We can have a walk around. We can, oh look, there's a gun over here. We can pick that up. And then once we're done, we can just head over here to the exit and get teleported straight back. Much easier. Now this actually leads us on to the next part of the game. The next objective of this game, once you've got the gun, is you need to go over this obstacle course and you need to fight the monster over here. So we see we've got a monster, we've got to shoot him, and let's say we get a few shots on him, but then, oh no, we've fallen into the lava. Oh, we've died. Oh no, what a disaster. And at this point, our game's in a bit of a mess because the monster's got damaged health, but we've lost our gun. If we go back to the spaceship, the gun's not there anymore. Oh no, what are we going to do, guys? Our game's broken. Now, a lot of people at this point, if you're being a bit quick and a bit lazy, they were resorting to just using the kick command. So if I look inside my lava part, I've got this death script. And instead of setting the health to 0, people do something like this. Player, you could use the kick, and then they can just type a message like, you died, please restart. Something like that, okay? And they fall into the lava. What we're going to get this time is, oh, you were kicked from this experience. You died. Please restart. This is really not a good idea. You want to avoid this where possible. Because if I get this, I really don't want to go and leave and then rejoin the game. Because bear in mind, especially with this one using TeleportService, it would mean I have to go back to the beginning, do the menu again, come back through the teleport, do everything again just to get to that point. No one wants to reload the game from the website each time. That's really bad for replayability. Because let's face it, a player is probably going to die at some point, especially if you've got all these obstacles here. They're almost bound to die, and you want them to have another go. You don't want them to just leave and never come back to your game. So how can we go about fixing all of this? Well, it's actually pretty easy to control the game state. So if we close all of these scripts, right, get all of these out of the way, and you'll see I've already got this script down here called the player setup script. It's pretty basic. It just uses the player service, checks for a player to be added, then checks for their character to be added. So remember, the player is their Roblox account, and their character is the actual avatar that they can move around and die and so on. And once it's added in, it just prints out a message that they've spawned in, right? So this script doesn't really do anything of substance at the moment. But let's go about trying to reset the game state whenever the player dies, or whenever they spawn in, okay? So that means we'll set it up once when they first join the game, they spawn in, and then each subsequent respawn, it'll be all nicely set up for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the monster and I'm going to move him out of the workspace and into the player setup script. I'm going to head over to the gun and I'm going to do the same thing. Click that, move it into the player setup script. And you'll notice I've already created these parts here. I've got a gun spawn part, and down here I had a monster spawn part. These don't do anything, they're just normal parts. I think they're set to, cancelize disabled. We could make them invisible, but I've just made them semi-transparent so you can kind of see what's going on. And now inside my script, whenever the character is added, I want to go about setting up the game world and adding in those items into the game. So what we want to do is clone them. So create a variable, local new gun, but equal to script.handgun, and we don't just want to move the parent of the handgun into the workspace because then we can't reload it. So we want to clone it, create a copy, then we want to put the gun's position, so we'll use the handle, which is a part inside of the tool, the handle, and we'll set its C frame equal to that part I created earlier, so workspace.gunspawn.cframe. And then finally, because we've created a copy, it doesn't exist anywhere, we need to set its parent equal to the workspace. And then I just need to repeat the same process for the monster. So local new monster equals script.monster clone, then new monster dot primary part.cframe, and we need to set that equal to our monster spawn. So workspace.monsterspawn.cframe, and finally just add it into the workspace. So now we've done all that, we can see, there's no monster in the game, but when I click play, they're going to get spawned in for me. Let's see, the monster's appeared. Obviously, if I died now, the monster's going to spawn in for a second time. Look, we've got two monsters. That's a bit of a problem. So in order to avoid that, what we probably want to do is remove any monsters or handguns that exist in the game. So all we do is we could say local old gun, and that'll be equal to workspace, and we use this function called find first child. What that does is it searches through something and it looks for it with a given name. So we're going to search, see if there's anything called handgun in the workspace. If there is, then old gun is going to equal it. And if it isn't, then it's just going to equal nil, okay? So we'll check. If old gun exists, we just say if old gun, then, and if it does exist, we want to destroy it, remove it from the game. Because we're just about to add in a new one anyway. We can do the same thing for the monster. So down here, we could say now old monster. And then we want to destroy it and make sure we're searching for it. So now we're removing any duplicates. So let's play and just test it out and check everything's working for us. There we go, we've got the monster. We could go over and fetch a gun for ourselves. There's the gun, you see it spawned in. Cool, cool, cool. We can shoot at our monster friend over there. Oh, he's not really our friend, is he? We do some damage, and if I was to die, it's not the end of the world, because the monster's going to spawn back in. It's going to be at full health as well, and we would have to go and get the weapon all over again. I'll just show you that it's there. There we go, we can see the weapons there. So now we don't have to do any of that pesky reloading or rejoin the game, which is really going to put players off, and it's going to keep players here playing. Now, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about checkpoints. Because obviously, once we've defeated this monster, we'll move on to the next part of our game now. See, there's some areas beyond here. And if I died, I don't necessarily want to go all the way back to the beginning there. That would be a bit of a pain, wouldn't it? So we can do checkpoints using scripts, but the easiest way to do it is just using spawn points. So I've already added some in, but I'm going to delete them and show you how to do it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to the model tab, click service, and you need to select team if you haven't already. Now I've already got teams here in my explore window. So you can see I've got teams down here. And for as many checkpoints as you want to add in a team. So we'll name this one checkpoint 1, and then we can have checkpoint 2, and then we're going to have a start point as well. Start, okay? Now you'll notice each of these teams, it has a few properties we're interested in. The auto-assignable one, and then it has the team color. Now we want them to start at the start team, so we want that to be auto-assignable, but these other ones we don't, because that would mean they would spawn in, start the game, they'd spawn in over here. We obviously don't want that. And the next thing is the team color. That's pretty important. All of these have got to be unique. So we'll set the team color of checkpoint 1 to really red, and checkpoint 2, we'll set that to new yellow, okay? And the start is going to be white. Now, if we click on this spawn over here, spawn location, by default, all spawns are neutral, okay? Now, we don't want this spawn to be neutral anymore because we're using these teams. So make sure that's unticked, and the team color needs to match the team we want. So remember, we set it to white, so we want this spawn, the team color, to be white. That's pearl. Where's white? There it is. Now, obviously, the actual color of the spawn is bright orange. It doesn't matter, you know, it could be red, white, black, it doesn't matter. What actually matters is the spawn team color property. That's what matters here. So that's one spawn, and let's go and add in another spawn over here now. We're going to put it up on the side here, and we can make it invisible like I had the last one. It doesn't really matter. You can even turn off collisions. And what we need to make sure is that its color matches the next checkpoint. So it was really red. We want to untick neutral, and this time want to allow team change on touch. That's what it says. Although it's got the ... And now we need to add in one more spawn, which was for checkpoint 2, which was the new yellow spawn. So I'll just duplicate it this time. And I'll move this, I don't know, we'll move it over here somewhere. So you can have a really big area. You know, if you're not exactly sure where the player is going to hit, you don't need to have a little spawn point that they walk over to. You can just have a massive block like this if you want, and then you know the player's going to hit it. Obviously, we need to set the color to new yellow. Team change on touch. Make sure that these all match up. Hopefully they do. And so now if we were to click play, and spawn into the game, we can test out our checkpoint system. So straight away we can see we've got the teams listed top right, so it seems to be working. If we were to die, we're going to respawn back at the start. If I start climbing up to here and won't bother fighting the monster this time, and we can push him off. Off he goes. There we go, goodbye. And then we do this next part. Hopefully I don't fall in, that'd be embarrassing. And there we go, we're now at checkpoint 1. So if I do fall in, I don't have to go right back to the start. I'm just going to respawn at this checkpoint. And if I continue on with the game, I can hit checkpoint 2. Look, I don't even really notice, but it's going to be handy later if I was to die. So that's going to really save having to reload the game, which would be a massive pain, wouldn't it? Okay, so we've talked a bit about GUI, teleport service, kick, and checkpoints. There's one more thing I just want to quickly touch on, which is walk distance. You'll notice everything here is pretty near the spawn point. We've got that teleport, we've got this obby thing, we've got this teleport up to the ship. What you really don't want is to have long distances in your game. You know, let's say I have a castle or something, and this is a new part. We're going to have a quest, okay, where you have to speak to the king of the castle, and then he tells you to go and kill that monster over there. That's the idea. So if we put it all the way over here, we think, oh yeah, this looks pretty cool. And then we're going to spawn in, and if we want to get to that castle, it means we're going to have to cover all that ground. That's quite a long way away. You don't really want anything to be more than sort of 10 seconds away. I mean, look, walking. It gets pretty boring walking all the way over here. You know, hey, we've got the quest from the king, great stuff, and then we're going to head all the way back again. And then maybe if I died or something, I might have to redo all of that. That would be really annoying. If you are going to put things at a bit of a distance, then you want to try and, at the very least, have some decoration. So maybe you could have like some houses along the way. So if you had a whole medieval town, right? If this is some kind of RPG game, then yeah, this could work. If you had it was actually on a street. And so now it's going to look a little bit better. It's not great, but it doesn't look quite as boring anymore. It's not going to be just flat base plate. So now if I'm playing the game, at the very least, while I'm moving on, I can kind of admire the scenery, think, oh yeah, these are some nice houses. Although, by the time I'm coming back again, I'm probably going to be pretty sick of these. So if you are going to put in a long distance like this, and you're going to have a medieval town like this one, try and have some reason for the space. So, like, if you're going to have a big area, you could have a little hidden chest hidden off the side here, right? And maybe they'll find this, maybe they won't, a little bit like an open world element. So just add in if you're going to make a big area. Otherwise, there's really no point having these huge walking distances. It just kind of makes your game, takes away the actual action, the gameplay. You don't just have walking simulators. Another thing is maybe you could add in some characters. So we could have Bob over here. Maybe he gives us a different quest. And then you could have Simon over here, right? You can talk to him about the weather or something. You see what I mean? Just if you're going to have these big areas, at least do something with it. Don't just have empty space. But I think that's probably enough for one video. Let me know if you'd like to see more on this kind of thing. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Hopefully you found this one helpful. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye!